So within probably less than 48 hours, they sent us to recovery. He had absolutely nothing wrong. So we don't even know if we can keep him, but we want you to go upstairs because he's going to need a lot of treatment. You know, he's here for at least 6 months before you go home. 3 weeks later, we went home and had Christmas. And he didn't have any byproducts, any problems, nothing, except he had short-term memory loss. So I was feeling pretty darn good about this, but I was no happier. Now I had no car. I was still on welfare. And my kid had a memory problem that he couldn't remember if it was his cookie or not. So I was like, things have not improved. So that went on for 6 months. And then in July, I was traveling to my father's house because I needed a rest. I wanted my daddy to look after me. And in July, on the road in Canada to my father's house, this beautiful voice shows up and he says, "Hello, dear one." And I almost drove off the road. I said, "You are the voice from the lake?" "Yes. We are going to come, we're going to teach you, we're going to tell you, we want to show you. We want you to share with others." I wanted no part of it. I really didn't want any part of it. And I was most resistant for a very long time. They showed up again over and over and over, teaching me, telling me what we are. You are living in vessels. Right now I'm talking to you, the soul. You are in a vessel, you're in a body, you're in a form. It is one of thousands of forms you can take. This existence is just an education system. It is just a set of experiences that after you learn here, you will go on to the next set of experiences. You are the hand at the arm of God. It cannot experience without God, and God cannot experience without you. It is a symbiotic relationship. Therefore, all that we've been taught about reverence is unnecessary. What is necessary is care and respect for the self. As you move into this new energy, you must become I. You must become I am. I'm a divine peace. I'm a creator. I am wonderful. And as we each embody that, and as we each turn into what we really are, that I am turns into we can. Because as we each become self-policing, we'll never harm a dog. We'll never have to have police. We all are doing what's in high frequency because we know in truth we're divine beings in form. So these were the lessons. They were coming. The beings were coming. Every time I got in the bathtub, they would show up. And I'd be gone in a trance getting all this information. I'd be sitting in the bathtub for 3 hours and my kids are pounding on the door. Are you okay? So anyway, over the course, this was now 2003, 2004, and over the course of all this learning and teaching that was happening, my mother is pleading with me to go to a retreat in Montreal that has all these spiritual speakers there. Because I am in great distress. I don't know what's happening. I'm having spiritual experiences, but I don't have anybody to ask about. And the traditional churches really wanted nothing to do with me. They just didn't know how to help me. So I turned to the more unorthodox, psychic type of things, churches that were more open to something's happening to me. And I was led to Montreal, and I was led to Annie and Bradfield, who did the music that you just heard. And I told them the story that I just told you. And what the beings said to me was, we want you to do a project, and that 1 hour of time will change the course of humanity. That was Fire Grid, 2007. They told me there was an energy date available, and that they wanted me to make all this happen. So I went up and I spoke to everybody in that spiritual group, and I said, I have this project, and nobody really wanted to speak to me, and that was okay, but I found somebody who did. His name was Dr. Stephen Greer. And Dr. Greer was the man who stitched energy, beings, and God. Because I was like, this is energy beings and our own energy. That's what's happening. I had no understanding of God, I wanted no part of it. And Stephen Greer said to me, who do you think made the energy beings and the energy? And I went, God? And he goes, so that was my first opening to the fact that we were dealing with something much bigger, that this is a real divine happening. So Stephen taught me this, and I was like, well, here's the project. There you go. You do it. He goes, it's not mine. It's yours to do. So Andy and Bradfield agreed to help me follow the instructions. And the instructions were to set up the world on a GMT clock, Greenwich Mean Time. That meant that I had to have somebody take the Greenwich Mean Time clock and build it so that it fit on a site, and that everybody would meditate at the same time. So India and Pakistan and England and Canada and the US all had their time, and that we would sit down as a unified whole. Well, I was on welfare, and I had no car. You know, things didn't look good. Like, how can I make this happen? And once I said, yes, I will make this happen, everything I needed came. The clock came, the site came, the music came, everything that I needed just came. So on July 17, 2007, at 11:11 GMT, we estimated 26 plus million people participated in a meditation. Now that meditation didn't mean you had to meditate, and it didn't mean you had to pray, but those were two modalities you could use. But if you were like me, and none of that resonated with you, the instructions were, sit with those you love, think of things that are joyful, that you love to do, and then be in gratitude. And you will ping, raise your own frequency. So for an hour, think about it, millions of people around the world found things to be joyful about, and or prayed and meditated. And we were pinging ourselves all over the world at the same time. So the being said to me, the gamma rays were bringing this divine energy into our being, and that we were going to act as conduits, and the energy would pass through us into the earth, which they said had always been the case when we were in our natural travel form. We had always been the conduits between God and earth, and humans had always been the little lightning rods on the planet that made the energy go round and round. But as we evolved, we turned it all off. We turned off our grids. Now, did we do it on purpose? Maybe. You know, did we do it because we had to? Maybe. But if we get into defining why it happened, we don't really learn anything. We just start to argue between each other. So what we want to do is unite in our similarities and not disintegrate in our differences. So I say, don't get into why it happened. It just happened. Our grids are off. The animals' grids aren't off. I mean, the elk can all move. They don't hit each other. The birds can all fly. They don't hit each other. We, too, are a part of that grid system, and we, too, could be that telepathic, that we could be communicating with each other all the time in that oneness state. So they're telling me about the grid. They're telling me that the grid surrounds the earth, and that we're all part of this grid, and that when we are in high frequency, we are contributing to the grid. We're sharing our energetic field with the grid of life that exists around the earth, and we're constantly giving to the grid. So when we're in joy, and when we're in gratitude, and when we're in any kind of loving situation, our energies are up at 8,000, 9,000 megahertz. And we're feeding, we're batteries for the grid, we're actually feeding it. And when we're down in greed and hatred and fear, we're actually drawing from it. So can you imagine how much is being drawn off that grid in the year 2011 right now? There's so many people drawing it, siphoning it. And what we need to do is replenish the grid. So far, the grid one was about understanding that we were going to be conduits for the energy. The energy moved into the planet. It was taken throughout the waters, because the waters are the blood of this planet. So the healing energy that moved through us traveled throughout the world, and on July 28th, 2009, that energy had to leave. It had to go back to source. So it was released from a crystal bed underneath Brazil. And at that point, we became transmitters. So the energy once again came up, but this time came up through us, and we sent it back to God. And it didn't matter if you meditated or prayed. It mattered whether or not you were present. The first part of the group was about being defined. Define yourself. Who do you want to be? The second part of the group was about being present. Be present. And that's what we were at that time. So we sent the energy back to source. So far, the grid 3 is about becoming. Become who you are. Feel it in your bones. You guys are not in this room without that knowing. You know, I'm probably preaching to the wrong group because you all feel it. You're seeing 11:11, you're hearing the music, you're being pinged all the time because you're in the knowing. What we need to do now is drop our little seeds for others. We are Johnny Appleseed of the spiritual movement. The people who are awake and aware and present and defined are now traveling around going, let me tell you a little story. And they drop a seed. But it has to be gentle and it has to be loving. Not like the old days where they hit you over the head with a book. Get it, get it. So, we go around dropping seeds for other people and they flourish and grow and we wake up more and more people. And everybody in this room might have a friend that's called them up and said, you know, I feel something weird's going on. Something strange is happening. And now as a person who's awake and aware, you're able to say, yeah, this is what's happening. Om